My name's Inspector Cliff O'Brien. I'm in charge of the Major Crime Section. Calgary man has been charged in relation to allegations involving a preteen girl. The incidents are alleged to have happened in the early 1990s involving inappropriate sexual behavior and touching. These allegations were originally investigated by the Major Crime Section in 2001. And at that time, this was a very thorough investigation. However, in consultation with the Crown, there was not enough evidence to lay charges at that time. When additional information was discovered earlier this year during an unrelated investigation, we reopened the case and recontacted the victim. As a result of the investigation, Stephen Lawrence Huggett, 59, of Calgary, has been charged under the 1992 Criminal Code of Canada with 1 count each of invitation of sexual touching with a child under 14 and sexual interference with a child under 14 years. He was arrested without incident Tuesday afternoon and was released on bail early this morning. His next court appearance, as I understand, is scheduled for later this Thursday. It is believed the victim met the accused through her mother, who was an acquaintance of Huggett's. And I would encourage anyone with information on this case or any sexual assault or sexual abuse case regarding children or anybody else to call the police. Any questions?
Can you say what, was it an investigation related to Huggett themselves that led to new evidence, or was it?
Yeah, that's correct. So in January of this year, as a result of an ongoing investigation into this accused, we uncovered some additional evidence which supported the 2001 initial investigation. So that led us to where we are today, where we're able to lay charges.
Was he still a Calgary police officer at this time then?
In the early 1990s, he was, yes.
So is there any kind of investigation that coincides to go back just to see if there's any involvement, that corresponded with him being an officer? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you guys do any kind of internal review just about that, or no?
Sorry, about what?
Like, do you guys do any kind of an internal review just because he was an officer at that time? Still? Or like, were all of his improprieties outside of work?
Oh, I see. There's no, as far as we know, this all happened while he was off duty. Certainly that will continue to form part of the investigation. Clearly, we're not done the investigation. If there's information that comes out that would lead us to have to look further, then we will.
What unit was he in?
That he was involved with, you know what I mean?
That's kind of gross.
No, sorry. You have to help me here.
Like when you go through while he was a police officer and look at the cases he was involved in to see if there's any impropriety possibly.
Oh.
Or if they would be affected by this investigation.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not even sure how we would go back to the 1990s and look at every file that a patrol officer has ever attended. So I don't even know how we would go about doing that. What I would say is that if somebody has information out there, they need to contact us. We'll certainly look at the files that we have, and we'll try to determine relationships, and if there's anything more that we need to do, then we'll do that. But
what unit did you say he was in the mid-90s? How did this happen?
in the mid-90s, he was working as a general patrol officer.
Do you anticipate further charges?
Not at this time, but I would have probably said that in January. So here we are. What I can tell you is that the previous investigation that we did, we were able to uncover hundreds of exhibits that we're still looking through. We're not done looking through, and those are tapes and computers and electronic devices, and we're not done. So if there is evidence of other offenses, then we'll lay other charges.
So the investigation you were looking at in January, charges haven't been laid in that in particular yet?
They have been laid.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
He's on bail for those charges, right?
That's correct.
Is there any connection between those previous charges and these new charges here with the child pornography ones?
No, there's no connection. The connection really stemmed from the additional evidence that we were able to obtain from the earlier investigation.
Did you know, because he has child pornography charges at all, was that always all outside of work as well? He didn't ever use the company computer to access those kinds of things, or was that being investigated?
To our knowledge, this was all outside of work. If something changes, then obviously we'll look into that. But to our knowledge right now, and we're a year into this, it's all been outside of work.
How does it affect the police force in general when one of their own, albeit retired, is charged with this kind of crime?
Well, I guess what I'd say is really we're always concerned when anyone in the community is charged with these types of offenses or there's allegations of these types of offenses. I think what this does, though, is it makes it very clear and should make it clear to people that really child abuse crosses all borders. That includes gender, it includes occupation, it includes social or cultural or economic status. It really doesn't matter. And so again, we're always concerned. I think that's why we have to, as a community, remain vigilant to make sure our children are protected.
This is one of the worst breaches of trust, though. Would you concur with that? How does it make you feel that this breach of trust was done?
Well, I think maybe ask two questions there. Is this the worst breach of trust? It's a serious breach if it's a serious allegations. Obviously, that's why Major Crimes is involved. How does it make me feel? I think it's the same with every other police officer. We realize that these things are pervasive, that these issues are pervasive, and that it doesn't really matter what occupation you have. The other thing I would say for me is it doesn't matter if you're a police officer, if you're a retired police officer, or what your occupation is. If you've committed these crimes, then we're going to continue to investigate. And this is a case where we had allegations that came forward in 2001, and here we are in 2013, and we're laying charges. I hope that's a message to people that we'll keep working on these files. We will find you and we'll lay charges.
Can you give us a sense of what might have changed between when this first came to light in 2001, when we began investigating, and 12 years later,
Yep.
when we finally laid charges?
What changed?
Yeah.
As far as the investigation goes, what changed was that we were able to uncover some evidence from the investigation that we were working on in January of this year. That evidence corroborated information that we already had and put us over the threshold so that that we feel that there's a likelihood of conviction.
Can you walk us through, he's charged for this offense under the 1992 criminal code?
Right.
Why are you in a position where you're using that instead of current day charges?
Just because clearly the offenses happened back in the early 1990s, so under Canadian law, we'll use the law that existed at that time as opposed to the law now.
And how are they different?
My understanding is the difference is really the age. So essentially everything's the same except that now the age is 16 and back then it was 14.
And the victim, how old would she be?
The victim at the time was approximately 7 years old.
So if the allegations are against him while he was a police officer, if he is convicted of these latest allegations, could that affect, now that he's retired in terms of pension or standing or anything because the allegations are from when he was a police officer?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know how that works with regards to pension. Really, pension and a member that's retired, that's a private matter between them.
Benefits or whatever they have, but could that be affected if you're convicted of a crime while you were a police officer?
I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. Sorry.
And is there any other, these are new charges, are you guys looking at other possible victims or charges that you may know of that you're looking at?
Well, right now, again, we still have lots of evidence to go through, and the investigation is not done. So if we uncover other evidence, as we did in this case, or if we find out that there's another victim out there, then certainly we'll continue on with the investigation.
Do you think there's other victims out there, and are you looking for people to come forward?
Well, we're always looking for people to come forward if there's somebody that's been sexually abused or there's children that have been abused. As far as I just don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate
You don't
about.
have victims that you haven't identified yet, that you may have seen a photo of a child or writings about a child that you just don't know who they are.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable getting into any further in the investigation. Right, I want to be careful and make sure that that the integrity of this investigation is sound. So, if there's people out there that have information, then we want them to come forward. If we do get into a position where we need to come forward with some other information, we'll do that at that time.
Do you have a sense of how the victim is doing with all this? I mean, it's been 12 years since the allegation first
Mhm.
came to light. Is she relieved that charges have finally been laid?
I think the victim's doing about as well as can be expected in the circumstances. The victim is getting support from our victim assistance unit as well as one of our partners, Homefront, and so she's getting support that way. You know, I can't imagine what that would be like for her. So.
To your knowledge, has a CPS member ever faced these kinds of accusations?
You know what? I'm not sure. Yeah, I just don't know.
It's
Not in recent time, but yeah, I'm not sure.
It's not alleged though that he was making child pornography with this particular girl though, like that he was taking photos. I know the last investigation was child pornography
Mhm.
related, but that's not one of the things that's being looked at.
No, it's not. You know, and I know I've said this before. I just think it's important for people to understand that this isn't Hollywood. So it's not a Hollywood television show. So the reality is that if we charge somebody and we don't have the evidence and they're found not guilty, they can walk out of court and new evidence shows up the next day and there's nothing we can do about that. So it's important for us to make sure that we get all of the evidence, that we work with the Crown, and that we have the proper evidence when we go to court. And sometimes, unfortunately, that takes time. And but it doesn't mean that we stop working on it. It just takes time. That's where we are today. Thanks, everyone.